Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. Hello and welcome to part 2, an introduction to classical text. Remember, do pusheth that subscribeth button in order to stay up to date with the latest posts. In part 1 I touched on how many speeches, modern or classical, is a good amount to have in your repertoire. Yes, 5. 3 classical, 2 modern. What's next? In today's video, the work begins on classical text. You can try out today's pointers on your own speech, but for reference, I will be using that little-known play, Hamlet, with Act 1, Scene 2's "Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt." Let us dive straight in. Iambic Pentameter. Oh, I have never heard anything more scary in my life. No, have no fear. It literally means that there will be 5 verbal stresses in a line of 10 syllables. What? In natural English speech, we, for the most part, tend to form our thoughts in 10-syllable lines. Shakespeare writes with this style to replicate a very natural speech pattern. Well, it just looks like poetry on the page. It is poetry, but that doesn't mean that it can't sound natural. With 10 syllables in a Shakespearean line, there will be 5 stressed syllables and 5 unstressed syllables, forming that well-known rhythm of dee-dum, 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 dee-dum. An example: oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. 10 syllables. Now, if we apply the rhythm of dee-dum, oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. That's your iambic pentameter. Oh, well, great. Well, remember, have fun, everyone. It's a play, darling. You're stepping on my lines. Some lines will be irregular, with 9 or 11 or sometimes more or less syllables, but this is the rhythm to acknowledge. We obviously don't go and perform the speech like a droning robot, though. Our job is to breathe life into the character, but let this rhythm send you clues about the character's emotional state. Listen to the rhythm and allow yourself to choose which words to lean on or give emphasis to. With your speech, say the first line in the dee-dum rhythm, oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. Then play with where those strong stresses land. Number 1, oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. Number 2, playing with some of the stresses. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt. Continue with the rest of your lines, once with the dee-dum rhythm and once more naturally, but acknowledging where those strong stresses land. Thaw and resolve itself into a dew. Thaw and resolve itself into a dew. Oh, but this isn't acting. But it is. We cannot escape the rhythms of natural speech, and Shakespeare is doing a lot of the work for us. As well as acknowledging the strong stresses in a line, let us lean on the verbs and the last words in the line. Then repeat the line again more naturally. Thaw and resolve itself into a dew. Thaw and resolve itself into a dew. Or that the everlasting had not fixed. Or that the everlasting had not fixed. We do this in order to keep the energy up through to the end of the line. Adding a small punch to each of the stresses in the line is also a very helpful exercise. It means you won't be dropping off at the end of the line. But I don't see how that is important. You want to keep the audience attention, but also be ready to spring on to the next line. Or that the everlasting had not fixed. Note where the full stops, the exclamation marks and the question marks are in your classical speech. These are a good indication to the end of a thought, meriting a small pause. If the end of the line doesn't have any punctuation, it is probably connected to the next line and can run on as such. Or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon gainst self-slaughter. Not, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon gainst self-slaughter. That was jarring. Yep, it sounds odd, doesn't it? If there is no punctuation at the end of the line, connect it to the next line as one longer thought. Don't let the formatting of this blank verse put you off in any way. Just imagine that it looks like prose, where the words go to the end of the page. Let the punctuation, full stops, question marks, exclamation marks lead you in the construction of thoughts. Now let us run the first 6 lines together, once with all the stresses in place, the dee-dums, verbs and last words in the line, then more naturally but acknowledging the work you have just done. Oh, that this too to solid flesh would melt, thaw and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon gainst self-slaughter. Oh God, God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Then again, but just acknowledging that work, but playing an action. In this case, trying to make sense of his thoughts. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, and resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his cannon gainst self-slaughter. Oh God, God, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. Yep. Do this for the entire speech. Find the D-dum rhythm, lean on the verbs, and keep the ends of lines lifted. Go through again, acknowledging the work, but then playing your action. What do you want? Quick addition: weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable fundamentally mean the same thing. When you come across lists like these, allow yourself to find some variety. Otherwise, you may as well say the same word 4 times.
What, like, how weary, 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 and weary seem to me all the uses of the world?
Let me know in the comments how you get on. Make sure you D-dum that subscribe button in order to catch part 3, What is Shakespeare Saying? Remember, it takes time. Be kind to yourselves and have fun. It's a play, darling. My name is Kai, but you can call me Caius.